Thanks for coming. I am really proud to be here with all of you. A couple things. One, I'm very shy, so I don't like speaking. It's true. Oh my God, Jerry, how you doing? I'm very shy. So please, And my mom always says, it's important to say hello. So hello, hello, please, and thank you. So I'll be sure to be doing. I already did hello, but I'll be sure to be saying please and thank you as we go through this. All right. Look, we are living in an incredible time right now. It is a renaissance occurring all around us. I mean, do you guys feel it? Do you feel the vibe in the IT industry? Obviously there's an incredible vibe around Cloud Foundry and around platform as a service. But in general, we are going through an IT renaissance, and it's simply amazing. I mean, Paul talked about this yesterday towards the end, and who, I assume most of you were here yesterday, right? By the way, Chris, you here? James may or may not. James, you here? Oh, how you feeling, man? Good? Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. James was working hard last night. He was working with Johnny Walker. So I didn't work with Johnny last night, so I'm good. And these guys pulled off an amazing event. It's truly historic because I really do believe that this is going to help change the industry moving forward. Speed is the new currency. Developing applications quicker is extremely, extremely important. This technology helps you do that. So feel good. Take a breath, feel good. This is the first of, I guess we're going to have another one, two a year. 6 weeks, James said? Yeah. And I'm also told that the next conference is going to be in Maui. So this is excellent. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I don't know where it's going to be. But over the past 12 months, there's been over 700 developers contributing code. There's been over 500,000 lines of code written, 20,000 commits. It's truly, truly amazing. So we should feel good as a community about what we've done, but fun's over. Let's think about the reality that we're in. Let's think about our clients. Let's understand the folks that we serve, what they're trying to deal with, the applications that we're building, the infrastructure that we need to scale and provide them, right? There are literally billions of physical assets out there with intelligence that will connect in some way to our applications, right? Smartphones, billions of I own about 5 different smartphones, just me. That's not my daughter or my wife. It's just me, right? The traffic, there's a shift in how internet traffic is occurring, right, to more cloud-based. And then in light of all this, you have a continued threat around cyber attacks and security and all these other realities that we need to face. This is what our clients are telling us. This is the things that we need to worry about. So on one end, you need to create a platform, create an open architecture for cloud that allows you to address these things, but also deliver the new currency, speed, right? Interesting challenge, right? If we want all of these markets or all of these technologies, things like social, mobile, big data to succeed in the marketplace, we have to deliver this new platform. We have to deliver on cloud. If we don't, these other markets won't be able to scale, won't be able to handle it. So feel good about where we are, but also have a dose of reality of what we need to accomplish moving forward. And there's something really, really important that will make this work. And I think it's really culture and people. So let me ask you a couple questions. So I know it's early, it's 9 in the morning. By the way, James, NFL kickoff was yesterday. I mean, I was here, I was having a great time. I'm not going to lie, I was on ESPN SportsCenter watching. Let's try not to do it at the beginning of the NFL season. I got a fantasy football league. Stressful, What was I talking about? Oh, all right. People. So how many folks here are application developers, develop apps? How many folks are, say, line of business people who think about a couple of those? All right. How many folks are platform engineers? Data centers, right? Yeah, you love the network, right? That's right, baby. Okay, look, all of you answered the question incorrectly. Yes, because to succeed in this new world, you need to develop T-shaped skills. You can't just be a data platform engineering person. You can't just be an application developer. You can't just be A line of business over here in the front. A line of business person. You need to understand how technology can help you. That's why you're here. How technology can help you do more. But technologists need to understand what you're doing. Okay? So everyone's talking about we're hiring. Yeah, we're hiring, all right. But you got to make sure you hire the right people. The people who understand the scope and the context that they're in. Okay? That's the change that's going on, right, in the industry, in addition to the renaissance around IT. So I'm going to try to ground what I say into 3 easy pieces. Okay? The first one is, as we look at contributing to Cloud Foundry, as we look at growing the ecosystem, as we look at building applications, continue to push on the art of the possible. Relentless reinvention. Don't be tied to models of the past. Use those, learn, and move forward. The second is ground what we do in use cases. And I got to tell you, one of the beachhead use cases for a lot of what I see in this whole platform as a service area is frankly mobile analytics, systems of engagement type applications, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But in the end, whether you're a user of the technology, so what I would consider a client, or a person who's building the technology, you need to understand that it is important to have a dynamic cloud strategy. And what that means is you need to have an open architecture from top to bottom. You need to have interoperability. You need to have freedom of choice. Why? Right? Why do you need to have those things? It's not because I love peace and happiness and joy to the world. I mean, yeah, those are all great things. I'm not an open source hugger, like a tree hugger, right? I do this for very simple business reasons, okay? IBM's a big company, 400,000 people. We've got a lot of great, intelligent people. We could do a lot. We've done a lot of amazing things. But I'm not arrogant enough to think that I could out-innovate the world. Right? Vendors who believe that taking a proprietary approach, okay, to any technology simply cannot sustain. You cannot out-innovate the world. And the other aspect to this is market adoption. You can accelerate the markets by gaining gravity around technology at different layers, in particular for cloud, whether it's the hardware, the infrastructure, the platform, how people interact through mobile and other aspects, okay? And we've seen this pattern before. Think about all the biggest innovations that have really occurred in the IT industry since the late 80s, early 90s. It's been really built around open. Remember the beginning of HTML and CSS and HTTP, right? Tim Berners-Lee, I worked with Tim on HTML. I co-chaired CSS. Does anyone know what the use case was for XML? I co-chaired that. What was the use case for the extensible markup language? It wasn't config files. Trust me, it wasn't. It was, does anybody know? Chris, you can't raise your hand. Anybody else? Come on, guys.
Play CDI.
It's good, no, sorry. The mathematical markup language, guys. That was the first instance, the first DTD, schemas didn't exist. DTD, right? That was the use, that was the web was created to disseminate physics information. Great use cases, trust me. I love math. I come out of IBM Research with Jerry. We love math. We love computing with math, right? We didn't understand at the time, and we were lucky that folks were able to see and use this technology in more interesting ways. The world has changed. We've learned. It's not just a bunch of us geeks in a room coming up with interesting stuff. We are involving end users. So the point I'm trying to make here is very simple. End users are as important as the technology itself, or more. Understanding the use cases of what you're building and why you're building it, and what the beachheads are and how you should architect things is extremely important. And that will help accelerate this ecosystem that's occurring. Make sense? All right. So say no to math, say yes to analytics. No, I'm just kidding. You can't do analytics without math, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we run a survey. And this is important, I think. Certainly the line of business people should wake up because they love surveys and things like this. But I think this is very telling because it's important for us to understand where we are when it comes to platform as a service in terms of adoption. We surveyed about 500 or so of our clients. The charts will be available, so you don't have to take pictures and stuff, but I'm sure they're available. And right now, PaaS is kind of at its early stages, right, of being adoption. There's a lot of folks who are considered, pioneers, trying to use this stuff in production. A lot of people experimenting, which is very good. I think too many observers, right? And who are these preparers? I mean, that's certainly not me. I'm not one of those people who overly prepare, like analysis paralysis, but there's some preparers. But when you dig deeper into the data, there's two kind of use cases, two reasons that they see that are very important. This is why I show you this data. Use case, use case, use case. And that is analytics powered by mobile. That's driving the creativity around a lot of these new style applications that need a flexible PaaS infrastructure like Cloud Foundry, an open one, right? And the other one is efficiency, speed, okay? So yeah, speed is the new currency. So let's talk about this use case. Analytics is in the eye of the beholder, okay? Has anyone taken a plane? You guys are afraid to answer because I said your last answer was wrong. So you say, wrong. It's okay. You can take planes. When you take planes, right, you've seen this HSBC ad in the tunnels of these 3 photos. This is the back of Jerry Cuomo's head here, right? Sorry, Jerry. But depending on who you are, depending the context that you're in, this could be a style statement. You're cool, right? You could be a soldier, or you can be a survivor, right? It's context. Context is very important, and context changes. So you want speed in application development, but your context is constantly changing. Things like time and location, social behavior, multi-channel. Let me just give you an example. A lot of us took flights to come here. I took a flight, although I live here as well as in New York. I go back and forth. It's not glamorous at all. So you took a flight, right? And you checked in. But 2 hours prior to that, you checked in at the gate. 2 hours prior to that, you're on your phone, you're checking your reservation, right? You arrive, you arrange a car service, you get in your car. 2 days later, you maybe half your luggage didn't make it, so you got to go buy some clothing, right? Time is and location is a very, very important context for any application that's going to help someone in their trip. So for you to be successful in developing an app, you need to be able to connect to these types of services to essentially detect what's going on, enriching the experience so that folks can do the things that I just described, perhaps even perceive that, oh my, they didn't get their luggage, so let's help them, let's get them some coupons, go buy some clothing, But ultimately act, do something, right? Because, as the big boss in IBM always says, our friend Steve, vision without execution is hallucination, right? You need to be able to do something. You need to be able to act, okay? So in order to do all of this, we need a platform that can be very flexible for change, right? Because those applications are going to change, the context is going to change. Location services with all the smarter cities and all the different kind of little REST interfaces we connect to are going to change, right? You need to be able to adapt. And by the way, our line of business friend over here, sorry, you're like the only one and you're in the front. So, you're looking at the competition. You're like, dude, this app needs to do this, this, and that. And you want the app to change. So it can't be written in cement. So you need to have a platform that allows for continuous change. And this is recursive, guys. It's not just the apps you build, but it's how we build the Cloud Foundry platform as well. It needs to be open for change, open for improvement, relentless reinvention, okay? People talk a lot about DevOps, right? Collaboration of data center folks, there's one over there, and application folks, right? Well, this is like DevOps on steroids, okay? But that's the use case we need to keep in mind as we build that. Make sense? So, important use case for folks who are building applications and folks who will be contributing to Cloud Foundry. Now let's talk about an open cloud architecture, a dynamic cloud strategy, okay? What's happening around us is that an open architecture is emerging. And there's not a client that I speak to that does not want to ensure that they have freedom of choice at each of the different layers, whether it's the hardware. Someone mentioned network yesterday. Did you guys hear software-defined network? That's hot, right? Things that are happening in open daylight, that's really important, right? Infrastructure, there's a couple good mentions of OpenStack. Anybody from Pivotal here? I see it. Oh, okay, good. Just want to make sure, right? A couple mentions of how Cloud Foundry works on Pivotal, right? That was really interesting. Cloud Foundry works on OpenStack, some really interesting examples of that. But this open architecture is emerging. And at each of these layers, there are ubiquitous open source platforms and innovations occurring. Okay? Whether it's the hardware, with things like OpenPower, the network with things like Open Daylight, OpenStack, which has become, frankly, a de facto ubiquitous infrastructure as a service open source platform, Cloud Foundry, which is really positioned to become a ubiquitous platform as a service platform. Hopefully, that's why we're all here, right? That's what we want, right? We're at the beginning. But also how you interact. I mean, think about the applications, right? You write a mobile app. Do you really write directly to iOS, your app, or do you use HTML5 and Cordova? Most applications use HTML5 now. Unless you're playing Infinity Blade or Minecraft or something that uses the graphics engines, yeah, okay, fine. But most normal apps, non-game apps that normal people use, right, are built using HTML5 and an open source project use Cordova. So from top to bottom, open source is driving innovation. Now let's just take a little case study here. Let's look at the infrastructure as a service layer for a moment, okay? And I just want to talk a little bit about OpenStack, okay? I am just constantly amazed and humbled at what has happened with OpenStack over a very short period of time. I mean, it started, guys from Rackspace, NASA, a small group of people, a couple dogs, a cat, and a parakeet, right? Building this, and great code. But one thing that OpenStack has, and one thing that Cloud Foundry has, is a strong community, okay? That matters a lot. And at one point in time, the folks decided, hey, how can we better nurture the community? How can we try to get more folks to understand and leverage this technology, right? And participate in the development of the technology and use the technology. And in about a year, OpenStack has grown from, 250 or so folks to over 11,000. This is dated. I was told this is dated, and apparently these are images, so I couldn't change the numbers, so you're getting old numbers. But there's over 11,000 people involved in OpenStack, okay? It is bigger than Linux. It has surpassed Linux in terms of an open source ecosystem in about a year. It's possible because we live in a different world now. We're much more connected now. We're in the middle of a renaissance. It is more than possible for us to do this, and we will do this together. So let's talk. People ask, what's up with IBM, and what do we want to do with Cloud Foundry? What are we trying to accomplish? So we thought one good thing would maybe do a little press release just to kind of tell the world, hey, look, we're using Cloud Foundry. We like it. We like the people. We like the code. We like the approach, right? We like the ecosystem. And moreover, right, we like the fact that we're moving towards an open model for contributing code, for governance, et cetera. Because that's how we will grow this community to 20,000 in a year, right, Chris and James? 20,000 a year. Very, very easy. And there were really two, lots of, whenever you do these things, a lot of people comment and kind of take things out of context. But those two really good kind of press analyst things I encourage you to look at. One was by Pundit IT, and the other from the Register. The first one talks about, and they really get it, why we do this. We don't do this because we're tree huggers. We do this because we're trying to accelerate a market. We want to get more folks to move from experimenting to pioneers to deploying, so we can make more money helping them, right? And there is more skills. That's the equation, all right? Very, very simple, right? The Register talked about what we did with Liberty. Yagen, how you doing? Yagen's like the god of Liberty here. Everyone know what Liberty is, or WebSphere container, right? It's great. You have a build pack we're announcing today, right? That's open sourced, so you can go use Liberty inside of Cloud Foundry. So specifically, we recognize that like anyone else, and we're new to the game, right? I mean, a lot of you all have been using Foundry for a long time. I mean, you saw a couple cool presentations of things that we built, but we're new. We got to earn our stripes. So we're going to start dealing with bugs, closing issues, blocking, tackling, helping automate testing, okay? We have a special interest on BOSH. Everybody seems to have an interest in BOSH. In particular, BOSH, how that ties with OpenStack, right? We already contributed the WebSphere Liberty Pack. There's going to be more from us coming, right? But the things that we're going to do, we're going to earn, We're not going to come in here and we're not going to say, oh, we think we got to change everything. No. We're going to learn how things are done. We're going to continue to contribute like we have, and we're going to grow. There is a lot of people in IBM playing with using Cloud Foundry, whether it's building applications or working on the code base itself proper. Okay? There is. We had a hackathon internally. We have an open source internally movement in IBM itself. IBM is a 400,000 person company. We have over 1,000 people participate in this hackathon one day we had for building apps for Cloud Foundry. That's pretty amazing stuff. Okay? A lot of energy. They're clearly not all here right now. We had to stop people from coming. so that's how much energy we have. Now, let's just take a moment and talk a little bit about ecosystem and growth. I think I've kind of hit it home that it's really important for any technology to have a strong community. Perhaps even more important so than the code. A lot of things have been accomplished, everything from how we exchange information, how we fix bugs, we're working on guidelines on how to contribute code, and I think we announced, the blog is up, so I think we announced it, this community advisory board, Chris and James and Adrian in here too. Yeah. So if you want to learn more about how to get engaged, and think of the community advisory board as almost like the BIOS in an operating system. It's going to bootstrap how we together funnel feedback into Cloud Foundry, how we work with Cloud Foundry, and then how over time we continue to create a more open governance model. All right, so talk to those guys if you want to learn more about that. All right, now, just so that you know, and another important question that comes to me is well, so what's your product plans? What are you doing? How are you going to make money? I kind of explained the meta money, the meta game, but now let me explain a little bit more. Look, for us, cloud can be a private cloud, a public cloud, or an integrated system. Okay, and we have something we call our Smart Cloud Foundation, which is a set of code that essentially makes it easy for folks to stand up those clouds or use them. All right, they're all built on open technologies. They all incorporate OpenStack, for example. A lot of the stuff we're doing on software-defined networks, all the stuff we're doing with HTML5 and Cordova, et cetera, it's all in there, right? And over time, we'll certainly include aspects of Cloud Foundry as we continue to work on this, okay? That is our intent. That's how we do this. Now, for the time being, though, you can start to see and preview what we're thinking. So I invite you to visit the IBM area over there, which is kind of neat that all of our areas are in here, right? And go check out something called Bluemix. And I'll give you a screenshot demo here of a second of what that is. And test out what we're trying to do to make it even easier for folks to build applications and, frankly, us learn more about Cloud Foundry. It's a tech preview. It's not a product. You can download it. You can use it. It's how we are learning and how we're trying to understand how a lot of our clients are moving from experimenting to pioneering to actually deploying. And, of course, if you want to collaborate with us on any community issue, how do you get involved in the community, what we're trying to do, or if there's a piece of code you want, there was a lot of interest in that dashboarding stuff yesterday, like 50 people came to me. You want to learn how to collaborate around that stuff? We'd love to. I got a big team here in the Valley. We can work together. We can work anywhere. We go to the dojo, whatever you want, right? You can ask, high five, man. I got 5 minutes. You're going over. We're going over. All right. You connect with Chris or Todd. Where's Todd? Hey, there's Todd. All right. Okay. Bluemix demo. By the way, I have a couple Easter eggs. Has anyone noticed the first Easter egg in this presentation? The guy coming out of the taxi was Jerry. That's Easter egg number 1. You didn't notice that? You put your face on the guy. There's a couple other Easter eggs. So so you can see and you can talk to Ed and the JSTAR team over there. There's Ed, about how to get engaged and how to get started with Bluemix. But I just want to give you a feel of what we're trying to do. So when you use Bluemix, you get this very simple page. And let's say you want to build an app. And you basically have a bunch of different runtimes that you can ground your app in. All right? Everybody heard of IBM Worklight? It's amazing. Yes? Okay, good. Worklight is a platform developing mobile apps, right? And it allows you to build cross-platform, high-fidelity mobile applications using HTML5 and Apache Cordova. You should check it out. But anyway, in this example, we're using Node.js. So I click and I select, OK, I'm going to build a Node.js app. I give the app, I don't think you guys can see that. I certainly can't see it, so let me move over here. You give the app a name, You have some code that you're going to seed and throw in there, right? So I go and I do that, and I add this, and I add the app into my catalog of applications. So now I'm going to start to add services. This is the whole dynamic behavior, right? You're going to see some services that are perhaps more common, like say Mongo, right, to do some NoSQL stuff. So I'm going to add a Mongo service to that particular application. You're able, right in context, to start, you're able to start editing the code. So you could, write the authentication for Mongo. How are you going to connect some of these different services together, et cetera. You start doing some of that business. And then you want to add, say, another app. And out of the hackathon, we had all kinds of interesting applications developed. Someone wrote a front end to Watson. Anyone know what Watson is? The thing that played Jeopardy, It's this, and you could ask it questions and so forth. But we're not going to use the Watson app. We're going to use a social analytics app, which was actually pretty cool. What it does is that this was a little app that analyzes Twitter feeds, okay, and does some analytics on sentiment analysis, right? So now what do I have is I've got a little application I've built, a Node application. It's got Mongo. It's got this social analytics thing in there. I wrote a little bit of code, and then right there inside the same environment, I can stand up and test and start to do sentiment analysis, see who's commenting on a particular topic, just by providing the hashtags of what I'm looking for the social graph of how people are related, and so forth. Very, very quickly. Line of business folks get excited over this. It was done very quickly. It's a toy little application, but it shows you the power of providing easy accessibility to standing something up, and the power of being able to bring different runtimes, different executions together in a framework in a coherent way, right? So check out Bluemix over there. All right, so now let me leave you with a couple of thoughts. First of all, if you haven't already, go to cloudfoundry.com, check it out, right? OpenStack, I think, is extremely important. So if you haven't heard of OpenStack, I don't know what rock you're living under. but if you have and you're not involved, please get engaged. It's a great community. You want to experiment with Bluemix and see kind of the stuff that we've done, we and IBM have done with Cloud Foundry. You can talk to Ed over there. Use JStart. And there's also kind of, we like to talk. We like to blog. We like to kind of, we're living in a renaissance. We like to kind of write down what we're thinking. So there's a lot of interesting blogs around how this open architecture we see evolving. Chris Ferris and myself and others have written a bunch of interesting blogs, so there's some links here for blogs as well. So hopefully at the end of this, you've kind of seen a landscape of really what's important for us. We want to grow this community together. We want to add developers. We want more people using Cloud Foundry. We want more people contributing to Cloud Foundry. The gateway of doing that is fostering an open ecosystem. We want to become a ubiquitous platform as a service. Full stop. That's it. Done. Okay, that's what we want.